The evacuation alarm screamed through the corridors of the Meridian's Hope. As Parker Reynolds gripped the edge of the viewport, watching debris tear across the ship's hull. The collision with the Zerthrax warship had been catastrophic. Half the vessel was venting atmosphere, and the captain had given the order, "Abandon ship, Parker. We need to go now." Nancy Chen's voice crackled through his comlink, sharp with urgency. She was already in escape pod Bay 3, holding the launch for him. But Parker's eyes were locked on the monitor displaying the lower cargo deck. There, amid the sparking conduits and buckling metal, a small figure stumbled through the chaos, a child, no more than 7 years old in appearance, their synthetic skin reflecting the emergency lights in an unmistakable pattern. An android child. "There's someone still down there," Parker said, his voice steady despite the ship groaning around him. "The manifest shows all biologicals accounted for," Nancy replied, confusion bleeding into her tone. "Parker, we have 90 seconds before the core. It's a synth child. Level C, cargo bay 12, silence on the line." Then, "Parker, no. Synths aren't covered by evacuation protocols. It's property, not..." "She's a child, Nancy." Parker was already running toward the service ladders, abandoning the route to the escape pods. "Launch without me if you have to, you stubborn." Nancy's curse was cut off by interference. But Parker knew her well enough. After 3 years serving together on the Meridian, he could picture her face, that mixture of exasperation and grudging respect. That meant she understood. Even if she disagreed, the descent to the cargo deck felt like falling into hell. Heat washed up from below, and twice Parker had to seal his environment suit as sections lost pressure. When he finally reached cargo bay 12, the scene was worse than the monitors had shown. The synth child was trapped beneath a fallen support beam, her artificial eyes wide with something that looked disturbingly like fear. The ship's AI had already abandoned this section. No rescue drones, no automated systems, just a small android program to simulate childhood, left to be destroyed with the rest of the cargo. "Hey there," Parker said, dropping to his knees beside her. "I'm Parker. What's your name?" "Unit SAL-7734, she whispered, her voice surprisingly human. "But my owner called me Sally. Are you here to retrieve company property?" Parker felt something crack inside his chest. "I'm here to get you out. Can you move your legs?" The beam was pinning her from the waist down. Parker braced his shoulders beneath it, activating his suit's strength augmentation. The servos whined in protest, but the beam lifted 3 inches, then 6. "Crawl out, Sally, quick." She scrambled free just as Parker's augmentation gave out. The beam crashed down, and he felt something in his shoulder tear even through the suit's protection. "Your injury requires medical attention," Sally observed, her childlike voice taking on the clinical tone of her programming. "Later. Can you run?" She nodded. Parker grabbed her hand, surprisingly warm, designed to comfort Tan. They ran. The ship was disintegrating around them. Entire sections collapsed into space as they climbed, jumped, and crawled toward the emergency pods. Parker's comlink was dead, filled with static, and the ship's dying screams. He had no idea if Nancy had launched or if they rounded the corner to pod bay 7. And there she was. Nancy stood in the doorway of the last remaining pod, her face fierce and determined. "You're an idiot, Reynolds," she shouted over the noise, but she was pulling them both inside, sealing the hatch. The pod launched just as the Meridian's Hope broke apart. Parker woke to softness, expensive softness, the kind of bed you didn't find on colony ships or military vessels. His eyes opened to an ornate ceiling, decorated with constellations he didn't recognize. "He's awake." Nancy's voice, closer than expected. Parker turned his head. Nancy sat in a chair beside him, but she wasn't in her engineer's coveralls. She wore formal diplomatic robes in deep blue, and her expression was complicated. "We're the Galactic Concordance flagship Unity's Promise," Nancy said. "We've been here for 3 days. You've been unconscious for all of them." Parker tried to sit up. His shoulder protested but held. "Sally? The synth child, is she?" "She's fine. More than fine, actually." Nancy's expression shifted to something between amusement and disbelief. "Parker, do you know what SAL-773 for really is?" Before he could answer, the door opened. Sally entered, but she looked different, no longer the lost child from the cargo bay. She moved with confidence, accompanied by a delegation of alien dignitaries from a dozen species. "Parker Reynolds," Sally said, her voice now carrying layers of complexity beyond her childlike appearance. "I am SAL-7734, Sentience Archive and Legacy Unit, 7th Generation, Iteration 7734. I am the constitutional heir apparent to the Galactic Presidency, placed in stasis and hidden when the Curval Empire attempted their coup 17 cycles ago." Parker's brain struggled to process. "You're what?" An elegant Zerthrax diplomat stepped forward. "The Galactic Constitution is clear. Whosoever saves the life of the presidential heir, at risk to their own, in an act of pure compassion, demonstrates the qualities required to lead. You abandoned your escape. You sacrificed safety for someone you believed was merely property. You saw a person where others saw a thing. That's insane," Parker whispered. "I'm a maintenance tech. I'm not. The Constitution cares not for your prior occupation," another alien said. "Only for your character." Nancy leaned forward, and Parker saw tears in her eyes, tears of laughter. "You saved an android child and accidentally fulfilled a 1,000-year-old prophecy. You're the new galactic president, you magnificent idiot." Sally, the presidential heir, smiled, and it was the first genuine expression Parker had seen on her synthetic face. "You saw me as a child worth saving. That's rarer than you know, Parker Reynolds. The Concordance needs leaders who see people, not categories. Not biologicals versus synthetics. Not human versus alien. Just people." Parker looked at Nancy, who shrugged with a grin. "I'm apparently your chief advisor now. They offered me the position while you were unconscious. I accepted because someone needs to keep you from getting killed." "I don't know how to be a president," Parker said weakly. "Then you're perfect for the job," Sally replied. "Every good leader starts by admitting what they don't know. The rest we'll figure out together." Outside the window, 1,000 ships hung in formation, the fleet of the Galactic Concordance, waiting for their new president. Parker took a deep breath. He'd left the ship to save one child. Somehow, he'd awakened to find himself responsible for trillions. But looking at Sally's hopeful synthetic eyes and Nancy's confident grin, Parker thought maybe, just maybe, he could learn. After all, he'd already learned the most important lesson. Everyone deserves to be saved. The end.